Good evening and welcome to the Q&A for Out Loud. My name is Benina Stern and I am the program's assistant here at the Skirball. For those of you who have watched the film, I hope that you were as moved as I was when I watched it. A bit about the Skirball. We're a museum and cultural center guided by the Jewish traditions of welcoming the stranger and American democratic ideals. And here's a bit about our panel today. Gail, Willumsen, and Jill Shinefield of Gemini Productions first worked together a few decades ago at the Los Angeles offices of National Geographic Television. Different interests had led them there: Jill's obsession with nature films and Jane Goodall, Jane's fascination with archaeology and prehistory. Working at Nat Geo was a dream come true for Gail and Jill because they embraced the Society's mission to support exploration and inspire people to care about the world. They also wanted to travel the world, and they did, producing shows on wildlife in the Holy Land, Kodiak bears, mummies, and volcanoes. After a few years, they decided to start their own production company, Gemini Productions, and went on to earn a Peabody, 3 Emmy Awards, and many other accolades. Lindsey Deaton is a creator, an artistic director, a public servant, and a fierce transgender and LGBTIQ youth advocate. Mrs. Deaton is one of the world's leading experts on the transgender singing voice and is widely recognized as a leader in building the global trans choral movement. She has spoken and written extensively on how to create a safer choral space for trans and gender nonconforming singers. Lindsey is the creator and artistic director of The Trans Diaries, an original theater project produced by the National Organization for Women Hollywood chapter, and is in its current production as a original music theater project for Beth Morrison Projects and the Prototype Festival in New York City. Lindsey currently serves as the commissioner of West Hollywood Arts and Cultural Affairs Commission and is the founder and artistic director of the San Diego Queer Youth Chorus. She previously served on the City of West Hollywood Transgender Advisory Board. Lindsey Deaton founded the Trans Chorus of Los Angeles in 2015. Under her artistic direction, TCLA became the largest group of trans and non-binary people anywhere in the world who gathered regularly to create music and was known for being the premier transgender chorus on the planet. Lindsey's work with the ensemble was covered and featured on NPR, MSNBC, LA Weekly, The Advocate, and in the Los Angeles Times, who said TCLA is providing an essential voice. Lisa Marchbanks is the founding executive director of the Trans Chorus of Los Angeles and a former Human Rights Campaign board member. She is now the upcycled maker behind Dragonfish Handmade Goods, where she repurposes garments, drapery, and home decor textiles into new and useful little works of art. Alana Balagot is a film composer who has scored several independent features and contributed to the films Cloud Atlas and Killer Elite. A Chicago native, she studied composition at Oberlin Conservatory and received an MFA in music for the screen from Columbia College, Chicago. So welcome, everybody. So I guess to jump right into it, let's start at the chorus origins. So Lisa and Lindsey, how did this chorus come together?
Well, I remember I was driving my car on the Columbia Parkway in Cincinnati, Ohio in May of 2015. And I had been in contact with Miss Lisa Marchbanks through the Human Rights Campaign. She was on the steering committee in LA and I was on the steering committee in Cincinnati. And I had just come back from Los Angeles where I had talked with some folks about starting a chorus. And Lisa asked, so what can I do? And so without Lisa, we would not be here tonight. And I can't tell you exactly what day in May that was, but I think it would have to be after the 10th. Okay, it'd have to be after the 10th in 2015. And that's how it started. You know, Lisa and I got to work. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember the year? I barely remember the year.
Yeah, it was 2015, and I think it was in the second week of May. So There you are.
Yeah. Really quickly, it took, I just got on the phone and started making phone calls to people, and we just kind of off the cuff said, okay, I contacted a friend of mine because I have a lot of media background. I contacted a friend of mine who designed a logo for us, and just started doing calls for choristers. We had no idea what we were going to have in the space, and it was amazing. I have to tell you, I stood in the back of our choral space every single day and bawled my eyes out. The truth that was sang in that room was magical, truly magical. Like something it was like magic in a bottle, something catching a tiger's tail, something you'll never experience again. It was amazing.
Well, yeah, but Lisa's glossing over the hard work that she put in so that those folks knew about that space so that they could get there. And, the fact of the matter is that Lisa, with her contacts through the Human Rights Campaign and other organizations that she's worked with, not only in California, but in Texas and other parts of the country, nationally through HRC, was really able to galvanize, a group of folks who were intentionally eager to help the trans community at a time when it really needed help. And there was not an existing, chorus in the United States at that point. There had been one up in Oakland, California, many years ago, and then there was one in Boston, the Butterfly Music Trans Chorus. But TCLA was really the only one, and it's the only one that has continued through the last 5 years. There are others, though, in Denver, which is going really well. Minnesota's got a good one. Portland's got a great thing, so I mean, all over the country, there's a lot. And I think that's one of the things that we can really thank this group. And, Gail and Jill were able to capture that, excitement amidst, the cutting edge back 5 years ago. But a lot has happened since then, and is really good.
Yeah, so you mentioned, yeah, Gail and Jill coming in on the cutting edge, and this documentary traces basically the beginnings. I recognize that church in Koreatown where you all started. So yeah, so Gail and Jill, how'd you get in at the very beginning?
I saw an article in a little local newspaper, which was a call for choristers. And I thought, a trans chorus. I've been in West Hollywood for more than 30 years and an ally of the community. And I thought, God, that many trans people coming together for this purpose sounds just amazing. And I said, Jill, maybe they'd let us film them. I don't know. In any event, it needs to be filmed because it's history. And we should offer our services to go in and document it in any way we can. But they'll probably have heard from lots of other people because we are in Hollywood. So,
and we do lots and lots. We went through somewhat of an interview process, or at least I did anyway. And really what sealed the deal, honestly, was Jill's love of archaeology, because I recognized I knew a lot of their work because I'm an archaeology freak. So that kind of helped seal the deal. And then meeting them after the first time, it was like they were family immediately.
That's awesome. Alana, do you want to speak to how you got sucked in? I don't know if sucked in is the right word, or swept up into the choir. I know, like we mentioned in the documentary, mentions like social media posts. I was wondering, how you found out about it.
I think it was a Facebook ad, and I was excited about it. I brought two friends to the first rehearsal as well, because I've sung in choruses all my life, and I'm trans, and it just sounded like an amazing opportunity to sing with a bunch of trans people. And even the first rehearsal was pretty magical. It was pretty awesome meeting all those people and making music with them.
Yeah.
I have to give Alana props. I mean, they were indeed there at the very first rehearsal on the 22nd floor of the New York Life Insurance Building, 6600 Wilshire Boulevard. How's that for being in the middle of Bufu? LA, you know, but they were there. And the picture that's sort of circulating has her in the background looking at me with an eye going, because Alana came in with more experience, no, really, than any other person in the room. Really, yeah, yeah, they got the goods, man.
Yeah, that photo's from the first day.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that first rehearsal. Like, you're all in a room, a bunch of strangers. You have no idea, like, the quality of anyone's voice. Like, can these people hold pitch? Yeah. What was that like?
So, you know, there were no auditions initially for the chorus. It was strictly, you know, whoever wanted to show up. And that was Lisa's and my question, you know, was like, who's going to come? Is there anybody going to come? And will they come back? Uh, we were very fortunate that we had an army of goodwill behind us with the Gay Men's Chorus of Los Angeles. Joe Nadeau and Chris Verdugo, both the AD and the executive director at the time, were amazing. And their men really stepped up and came to every rehearsal, provided snacks at break, which quickly became, you know, a tradition for the chorus. We would take a half an hour break at every rehearsal to break bread, you know, and it wasn't just a snack. It was literally, you know, like chicken and manicotti and stuff, you know, lots of stuff. And we had our vegan dishes and all of that. And it wouldn't have happened without, you know, GMCLA. So they helped. And then also New York Life Insurance. They had folks that were at the desk welcoming people to come in and send them up. And, you know, again, that's Lisa. Lisa had, you know, an amazing ability to galvanize allies to come. So it was great.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I was gonna,
someone was
I'll
going to
jump
jump
in.
in.
Gail and I actually weren't at that rehearsal. The footage of that in the film, it was from someone else who shot it and kindly lent it to us. But we started filming in January, so a few months after that first rehearsal. So,
Great.
and then that led to 6 months of filming every rehearsal and many performances. And by the end of that year, we had maybe 200 hours of footage, including then the portraits that we filmed with people privately.
Yeah, I want to talk more about the portraits, because those are, like, I think, a vital part of the film. But so you enter the insurance building. Were you immediately like, we're gonna sing Bowie and Goo Goo Dolls? Or what was the process of, like, finding a repertoire for this ensemble?
So the first 6 rehearsals were specifically for a program called the Transgender Day of Remembrance. It's an event that's held every year on November the 20th, and the city of West Hollywood hosts an event. And so the chorus came and was fortunate enough to work with Alexandra Billings and do a song with her, and do a song written by Our Lady J and perform with her, and then do one by themselves. And it was Iris of the Goo Goo Dolls. And so they were very strict programmatically for the Transgender Day of Remembrance. And that was what the goal was, to do those 6 weeks. That was our deal with the Gay Men's Chorus of Los Angeles. I was not living in LA, y'all. I was commuting from Cincinnati, Ohio. And so literally every week I would fly on Southwest Airlines from either Dayton or Louisville, because there was no plane out of Cincinnati, and come in for rehearsals and do the work and then go back home, because my wife was supporting me while I was getting this going. And once we were done with T-Door, we, you know, had to ask, okay, so what do we do now? We don't have a space to continue to work. And that's when Jill and Gail came in and caught us right at the beginning at Emmanuel Prez on Wilshire Boulevard. And we quickly had work to do. The chorus got lots of asks, you know, for everything from singing in City Hall for the first time, to doing Pride work, to runouts, to Riverside, and, you know. So we were very fortunate that we had a program that we could offer that people really wanted to hear.
Great. Alana, we'll talk more about you scoring the documentary in a little bit, but a song of yours ended up in the Schoenberg Hall performance. So yeah, what was the process of like incorporating that into the repertoire?
Yeah, so that song was from my wife's thesis film, also named Gender Freak. The song was named Gender Freak as well, and we wrote it together. And just at some point during the season, like I realized it seemed appropriate for the chorus as well. So I approached Lindsey about it, and she has like a rock background and seemed to like it and was open to me arranging it for the chorus. So we did, and we got to perform it there. It was pretty exciting.
Well, there's a couple things there a couple of more dots there. First, Alana will absolutely share how hard it is to get work performed. And the mission of the chorus is to fiercely, when I was there, was to fiercely and mightily empower trans voices, and in particular, professional trans voices like hers, and pay them, which we did. And so that was the deal. What was the cherry on the top was her being asked to conduct her own piece, because composers rarely get that opportunity. But no, it's really important that we understand that we've got professionals, they deserve to be paid, and that's really what it's about, as we move forward.
That's really lovely. All right, we're gonna switch gears to making of the film. So you came in, Jill and Gail, like 6 months into the very start of this choir. What was it like being in those rehearsal rooms?
Well, like Lisa, it was, I had that same feeling of just being so inspired by the fierceness with which the chorus was singing these songs. But I was also struck by the fact that they had a lot of work to do, and because so many of them were not trained musicians, had never sung with other people before, couldn't read music. And I thought, the rehearsals were once a week on Sundays, and I thought, there's going to be no skimping here. We're going to have to film every single rehearsal so that we can, document that evolution, that subtle gelling, coming together of these singers with their artistic director, and then pulling off this performance. So, you never know when you start a documentary what it's going to take, but it was really clear at some point that we kind of had to try to embed ourselves with the chorus's willingness, embed ourselves with them and be there all the time,
Yeah, and it was just the two of us. Gail did the camera and I did the sound. So it was the two of us in that space for several months. So
yeah, and you've a couple people touched on like trust building and auditioning you all. Does anyone want to speak on that a bit more, especially when it comes to the filmmaking process itself and over 6 months?
Well, I'll just say that whenever we make a documentary, it doesn't matter where or with whom, that's the first. If you can't build trust, there's no film, period, of any kind. Not in a documentary, because people are opening up their lives, their work to you, and they have to trust you, and you have to take that on as a sacred trust that you're going to try to represent them properly to the best of your ability. So that's where we came at it. That's how we came at it. But for you all, I'm sure these two crazy women were like, what are they going to do? What are they going to, oh my God,
Well, Jill and Gail really became embedded with the chorus. They were there all the time. When they weren't there, people would ask where they were. They were just very kind and made a very safe space for us. I was surprised that the movie is only 50 minutes, an hour, something like that, with all that footage. I was just like, how are you going to cut that down? Because you could make, a day-long documentary with all that footage.
Yeah, that segs into the next thing, the post-production segment. What was it? Yeah, how did you choose footage? because I also very much so appreciated that it wasn't like a won't they succeed as a choir. Like it began and they were at Schoenberg Hall. This was going to happen. Yeah, speak more about that, like footage culling process.
Well, it was a big job, and Gail did most of it. You know, we had 200 hours, but I would say maybe 2/3 of that was rehearsal and performance related because we had multiple cameras. But still, you know, culling down, we knew we couldn't have every rehearsal, so we had to highlight. We wanted, you know, beginning, middle, end, and we knew which songs had been sung at which rehearsal. It was a big editorial process in terms of just getting all that material technically into the system, but also getting, you know, all the interviews transcribed and then figuring out which portraits were fitting in where and the transitions of all of that. I mean, it was a huge editing job that Gail did.
And I usually at all of our other shows, I'll do a little bit of editing, but I work with an editor. So this was, I thought, oh my God, I am never going to complain to an editor again. Like, why didn't you put that in? Or how come you couldn't, you know, because having done it now myself completely alone, it's, yeah.
And, you know,
it's a big job.
It was a huge job. And, you know, so we filmed most of 2016. And so here we are, 2021, right? So Gail, you know, we were working on it on and off. So it took a long time to finish. And of course, we managed to finish the film in February 2020. And then the pandemic hit. And we thought, oh my God, we spent 4 years on and off trying to finish the film. And now we don't even know if anyone's going to see it. So then that was a whole nother thing.
Wow. That's quite a journey, and I'm glad that it's here and we were able to see it. You had mentioned the portraits, which I think it gives the film so much of its heart and makes it truly unique. What was you deciding, like, we want to delve into these choristers' lives, and you had mentioned trust, so I'm assuming like that's how those all happen. But yeah, to see everyone in their workplace or going out and having fun, I think that was, it was really impactful for me, and just to get to know these individual members in a big ensemble. So yeah, speak more on that.
Well, I think there were maybe 20 to 24 choristers that first year. And when we started filming, we were really in the period of those initial 6 months. It was all about the rehearsals and then some performances. So we waited to film the portraits until most of them, not all of them, but Rex we filmed in the middle of the rehearsal process, but many of them we filmed that summer after we'd already kind of been around everybody for so many months. But also not every chorister wanted to be filmed, and that was fine. So, you know, we really filmed, I think, everyone who wanted to be filmed. And then it was a matter of seeing how their little portrait would fit into the story of the bigger film. So, you know, some people really only wanted to be filmed at home doing something, and other people, like, you know, Anne mentioned, hey, I'm going to MC this comedy show. Come and shoot the comedy show. So, you know, it varied per person, and we worked with each chorister to kind of figure out what they felt comfortable with us filming and what we could film. You know, Maggie at the time was working at a, you know, brand name auto mechanic company, and we tried to get in to film her at work, and it just didn't work out. But, you know, we were able to film her doing something else. So that's kind of, you know, we had to kind of go with the flow.
Did you film any portraits that you didn't actually use in the film?
No, not really. All the
There were
interviews are in there. Yeah.
some of the,
But the
like,
thing is,
yeah,
Bernita, you were asking about, how did we decide that we wanted to film these portraits? Well, it's kind of like, how could you not want to know more about these people? I mean, walking into that room, I'd never been in a room with 25 trans people. And I'm like, there's young, there's old, there's every color, there's trans men, trans masculine, trans women, non-binary, trans feminine. I mean, it's like, for me, I'm a cis person. I was just floored and fascinated. I wanted to know more about their lives, about their journeys, about everything about them. So it was kind of like, can we film you? Can we ask you questions? We're fascinated, I think it is an extraordinary group of people.
It is pretty wild being in a room of all trans people.
Benina, you can understand.
It is
why
wild.
we
Yeah.
chose them now.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's just it's a level of empathy that like is like I think we all should have it. And trans people in the media have never are just starting to get like a fair representation. So just to see like rich, vibrant lives, it meant a lot. Lindsey. Oh, yes. Were you saying more, Lisa?
Nope.
Or Lindsey?
No, I was just reflecting on the kind of experience it is to be in community on a regular basis and how enriching and life-giving it is. Much more than family. It's hard to explain or express the chemical experience you have singing together. I mean, there's a whole physiobiology that really does happen. It manifests itself. And the liberating part about being able to vocalize your truth. I mean, hear my voice, Bernina, when I go like this, you're sitting here, okay, well, I'm not sure what kind of voice I'm hearing other than that picture. Now, but when you see my face, then you go, oh. And so when I go through any drive-in or I'm on the phone, it's not often that I'm not misgendered. And so my voice betrays me. So a lot of folks feel that way. And having the safe space to be able to vocalize your truth and then use it in some kind of way that's uplifting, spirit-filled is, it's more than magic. And that's what I'm really grateful for both Jill and Gail in their, ability to capture. I think it so well. I'm just forever grateful for that. Thank you all.
Thank you.
yeah.
I just want to remind the audience, we'll be taking audience questions in a little over 10 minutes, maybe 15. You could put those in the Q&A function, the button at the bottom of your screen, and we'll get to as many as we can. So we just talked about being in community together, and that was one of the things that really resonated for me, just having been coming out of a 15-month period of isolation. I'm sure we're all feeling isolated, and just like the power of music in creating these communities. And Jill or someone had mentioned when you were actually filming it, which was 2016 to 2017. And I was like, what? An election happened that was traumatizing. And so, yeah, I don't necessarily have a perfectly cogent formed question, but I want to talk a little bit about like the power of community and music during specifically like that time. But I guess in general.
Well, one of the things that I got educated in, I got educated in so many things making this film, but one thing was just the tradition, and Lisa and Lindsey, you can address this, of choruses, of gay men's choruses, lesbian choruses, and of what it's not just the music, it represents, you know, where like the men's choruses came out of, you know, the AIDS epidemic. And, you know, you said in one of the first rehearsals we filmed, you know, just as it came out of men were dying and the choruses came together, you know, trans people are being brutalized and murdered, and this chorus came together. And that, I hadn't realized that. I think when I saw the ad in the paper, I thought, oh, they're going to make music. That sounds amazing. I didn't realize the depth of it.
Well, our very first performance was the Transgender Day of Remembrance. And I need not remind you that right now, on June the 15th, 2021, we have almost as many deaths as we've ever had in an entire calendar year already in the United States of trans people, primarily trans women of color. It's an epidemic of violence. And we've had 6 states pass and their governors sign anti-trans, specifically trans youth in sports legislation. This is a community that is under incredible assault. As we speak tonight, you know, in a way, I feel like we're in a bubble in California. You know, we're protected with non-discrimination laws, equal rights policies, and all of that. But that's not what's going on in this country. And from the get-go, the message of this chorus was for across the country, look what's possible. You know, it's not only possible for you to live, but it's possible for you to flourish and to thrive, living your truth and being expressive. And, you know, that's really hopefully what this film will do as it's being shown around the country, is that parents go, oh, wow, something's going on with Johnny. I mean, Jamie. I mean, Susie. You know, and they do something about it and provide a safe space for their kids. I wish I could say it was getting better, Benina, you know, Jen and Larry. I wish I could say it's getting better, and it's just not. And, you know, I've got friends who are not willing to come out of quarantine. I mean, really, it's very, very, very fearful right now for the trans communities. So sorry to be so emotional about it, but
No, don't apologize. Thank you.
and it's not just our community, right? It's not just our community. It's across the board. There are so many communities at risk right now. And you were asking, you know, what did it come out of? You know, it was that 2016 election and the permission that person gave other people to be shitty to one another. That's what happened. And a lot of people died. A lot of people have died. Yeah.
Yep.
So, sorry.
No, thank you. And yeah, I'm just thinking about how, like, as a country, we're not remembering the loss at all. We want to move forward and go back to normal, and we don't want to sit in that.
I'm sorry. It would require us doing something.
Yes.
Right. And until we, you know, provide, you know, those mechanisms of power, the wherewithal to do what they need to do, it's not going to happen. It's not going to change. And it doesn't matter how people, you know, many people are slaughtered, whether it's 49 people at, you know, Pulse, you know, 5 years ago. But that's our community every fucking year.
Yeah.
You know, that's what's going on. Sorry.
Don't apologize.
Sorry.
So,
Okay.
Lindsey can get rather passionate.
passion is good. Passion is good.
That's why we're here today.
We need passion to move the world forward.
That's right.
Yeah, I mean, we've tapped a rich vein. Does anyone have anything that they want to add to this?
Well, I mean, the flip side of that is what the chorus provided. I mean, I think I have lifelong friends from the first season, and I've been in the chorus since that first season, and it's you know, it's been a welcoming space. It's pretty isolating being trans. Like day to day, it's not a lot of other folks that you see that are like yourself. So like coming every week and communing with people and making music and singing has been, it can be very healing.
Yeah. What, you're still in the chorus today, right?
Yeah.
What's it been like? I guess in pandemic times, or maybe in the years following. How's it like grown and changed?
The pandemic has been tough. We much like this, we met over Zoom, and it's pretty much impossible to do music over Zoom, and be able to hear each other without lag and delay and everything. So what we've been doing, we've still been learning tracks. We've still been meeting every week, and basically we all mute, and our musical director teaches us our parts, and we just learn them on our own. And then we've been doing a lot of video pieces and submitting those. We've just started to get back doing some gigs in person, so that's been wonderful. But yeah, the chorus has grown and shrank over the years. Most, I would say, is like 40. I'd say right now we have maybe like 12 regulars that are on Zoom, but more that are on leave that might come back once we rehearse in person again.
Cool. I also just want to circle back since we've transitioned to Alana time. You scored the movie as the documentary as well. So yeah, talk about the process of creating the film's sound, and working with Gail and Jill through that.
They were great to work with. We didn't have a ton of time. I think we did it in like a month or two. But yeah, I mean, we had a spotting session, and they gave me kind of a clear view of what they want and gave me some examples, and I listened to some of their other work just as research. And so yeah, we didn't want to like over score it or like try and tell you what to feel. But yeah, I mean, I thought Lindsey's story was really powerful. I thought the like jittery energy of performing, getting ready to perform was important to highlight, but also to highlight some of the wins and successes that the film is celebrating.
And Alana's underselling what she did, because it's one thing to score a film, it's another thing to score a film in between music that's going on in every rehearsal and making it fit together. It's really hard, and you did an amazing job. It just seems seamless, but it's really, really hard.
And then you're in the film as well. So add that in there.
That was a new one for me. Yeah.
Gail, you bring up a great point about like how many different sounds were in there, because we had Bowie, we had the punk and scene, and then we had like legit choral pieces. Is that where?
Yeah, we had that Frenchy thing going on.
The French thing, and Fair Phyllis, yeah.
Yeah, so weaving in and out of that as deftly as Alana did, brava. That's hard. Much harder to do than like a Star Wars thing, just bring out the big guns.
Thank you. I think the hardest scene was actually we couldn't use the music that Gia was dancing to in the hip hop scene.
Right.
So we kept going back and forth. I think we had like 10 versions of like, is it supposed to have lyrics? Is it supposed to be fast? Is it supposed to be slow? That was like took quite a bit.
That was tricky. That was tricky. Yeah, but it's great. That's great.
Yeah, I wanted to circle back to something we had mentioned, like how the repertoire was forming, but I was just incredibly impressed by the like 4-part French song that came out. What was your rationale for being like, we're gonna stick this in a Bowie and a punk and a Goo Goo Dolls, like this eclectic mix of songs for this choir?
So I really love madrigals. I love madrigals, and I love French madrigals, Italian madrigals, English madrigals. I sing madrigals, and they're a real staple of legit choral rep. And one of the things that I bring in my experience is that, and the language was a challenge, but we had the best linguist in a film director by the name of Gail Willumsen, who's fluent in French, and she would speak into a recorder for us, verse by verse, to teach us how to do it correctly. And that's how we learned it. So, and, you know, it also,
Wait. So we're cruising down the road one day, coming from some event, and she's like, "You got to put this in. You got to put this in. Put this in." I had never heard anything so incredibly complex before in my entire life. She said, "Of course, he's going to sing this." And I went, "Okay." And she made it
in French.
In French, right?
well, you know, the bottom line is that we only limit ourselves, and they were good sports. You know, absolutely. And, you know, sometimes you do what you don't know is difficult just because you can. And, you know, Alana can speak to that. You know, there's a lot of musical experiences that we have that we do just because we can. And that was one of them. But yeah.
But you also had section leaders who were like helping
And
other
Alana,
right?
and Alana
Yeah.
is one of them. Yeah, she was one of the B2 section leaders. So, you know, one of the things we haven't talked about is the voice itself.
Yes, I was going to segue into that. That was kind of my like, how did you rework that for the voice?
Right. So at that very first rehearsal, as the voices were coming in, we're having to, you know, decide, okay, who's got a low voice, who's got a medium voice, who's got a medium low voice, who's got a medium high voice, where, who, what's in the room. And as it turned out, using binary vocal registers, we had mostly tenors and baritones and basses. Not to be surprised, right? With some altos and like a soprano. That's how that worked out. And so all the repertoire that's already published is either for choruses that are soprano, alto, tenor, bass, you know, SATB, so that crosses both the binaries, or SSAA, soprano, soprano, alto, alto, women's choruses, which is that binary, or TTBB, men's choruses, which was that. And, you know, one of the answers that we really still have out there, Benina, is how to write and share music for trans people. And, you know, that's one of the things I think Alana can speak to is, right, we use the binary vocal system right now because that's the way music has been published. But to write for our voices, we could do other things. And I don't know, what do you think about that, Alana?
Yeah, it's interesting. It was TTDB at first. And yeah, I mean, that was helpful for being able to use like the gay men's chorus repertoire somewhat. Right now, we have quite a few higher voices, SATB. Yeah, it kind of just depends on the mix of people.
No, I'm asking specifically about the whole idea of re-registering trans voices. How you identify at the left side of the page what you're about to read. Because that's our issue. It's economic. You know, we go to those binary names right now because it's published and we can pay for it $1.75 a piece, right? Whereas to actually have it arranged and paid for our voices costs money. And that's where we run into difficulty. But, you know, what are your thoughts about that? You know, if you had your druthers and you could score how you wanted, what would you do?
Yeah, I mean, as the chorus has gone on over years, you know, the first time I did rearrange Gender Freak for the chorus. So the first year it was 3-part harmony, and it was just kind of what folks were capable of. And then did a more kind of ambitious version that had maybe 5 parts the next time I arranged it. I like you, I think you're pretty ambitious. I like more difficult music and more hard parts and harmonies. So that's what I tend to. But yeah.
I mean, what struck me during the movie is how we subconsciously enforce a binary on just vocal parts. Like tenor means man.
Yeah, it's not subconscious at all.
Well, it is. Yeah, it is very.
And so one of, you know, the directives of creating a space like this is, it, you know, to make it safe for folks who identify total trans femme and have a low C, have a low C1, a real one, and that it's okay to use it and sing it and be gloriously empowered by it. Because there's nothing more majestic than that, Benina. I mean, nothing more majestic. And I'm hoping that, as time progresses, that generally in choral spaces, that there's more safety for folks to come into a space being who they are and welcomed by that director. And, that is one thing that has happened in the last 5 years is music schools across the country are graduating doctoral students who have this experience of being trans or non-binary and are now going out into classrooms, including college classrooms, and leading choral education programs, for instance, at the University of Hawaii. And that means everything for a person like me growing up who never had a role model to look at, to even go, my God, that's me. I could do that, So that's really what this film affords folks, is the opportunity to identify that it's possible, So thank you, Gail. Thank you, Jill.
Oh,
Thank you, Alana.
I have gone to some like reunion choruses, sung in other choirs, and yeah, the directors can fall back on that, sopranos, ladies, altos. So I didn't realize that it is quite nice to not have those genders associated with the parts.
well, it's not in the film, but Nicole, who's the guitarist in the film, she, you want to fit everything into the film, but you can't. But in her interview, she said that she loved being in chorus in high school and in college, but she'd walk in and the instructor would, or the chorus master or mistress would say, okay, all the men over here and all the women over here, the low voices here and the high voices here. And she'd be like, where do I go? I have a low voice. I'm a woman. Where do I go? And she said that she felt so relieved being in the trans chorus, of just being who she is with her voice done,
Well, and Rex speaks to this, in the film. And, I wish y'all could see Rex now. They look glorious. They're just so gorgeous.
They do.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Great. Oh, God, I love this. But we're gonna turn to some audience questions, and then we could pivot back to whatever we want to talk about, because I would love to just talk about the future of the choral art form forever. I think it's extremely interesting. We got one from Andrea. So Lindsey, as an artistic director, can you briefly explain some of the things you do to help one find and develop their voice through singing, like warm-ups or technique or getting through vocal dysphoria?
Okay, singing begins with breathing. And so breathing in boxes, so a count of 4 in, and then holding it for 4, and then exhaling for 4, and then holding it for 4, can create some real relief in that anxiety as you begin to vocalize. And then not needing any instrument at all, just finding out, where is my voice? Is it comfortable here, or is it comfortable here? Or is it comfortable here? Where am I naturally? Where do things lie best for me? And then to begin to intone them. Singing along with the radio is a great way to sort of find, where is it good for me? Who do I sing with best? And or who do I like to sing along with? And then finding your way to a good vocal studio. And there right now is a good list of singing teachers nationally who have experience working with trans vocals, both all over the country. And I'm happy to provide that information for folks if they'd like to get it. And these teachers are really, really skilled at working with folks who have dysphorias or fears about retaining their high register as they yearn to go low. Okay, so if you're a transmasculine person who's begun take, hormone replacement therapy and is on testosterone and is looking to have your voice lowered, there might be some dysphoria in remaining, wanting to keep, vocalizing this high. But with a skilled teacher and you continuing to use all parts of your vocal register, what happens is that your bottom is able to develop more fuller while maintaining everything, that richness up here. Conversely, working with folks that identify in the trans femme, depending if there's been a vocal change or not, there's dysphoria. As I said, you hear my voice and you wouldn't necessarily visualize this. And so I have to learn how to be okay with that. And then what does that mean, being okay? For some people, it means that I'm going to need to have surgery. I absolutely need to have my voice higher. For other folks, it will be okay. I'm good with this. How can I use this? And everything in between. All right. I think initially, though, it's to identify a good resource, as an instructor. So.
And also, hi, Andrea. She's one of our alumni in the chorus.
Right. I was going to say, hey, Andrea.
That's so, I love it. I got one from an anonymous person. There are a number of trans celebrities and more trans characters showing up on TV and in media. Do they think this is making, do you think this is making an impact in terms of broad acceptance and tolerance, and what more can the media be doing?
Okay, so no, there's not enough. There's not enough real life experiences of trans and non-binary people, especially, coming out of the various communities that we have. We're not a monolith by any means. And I wish I could say it's getting safer, but it's not. We are, though, thank goodness, with young folk. As young folk grow and are able to experience their truth younger and will come into voting age, I'm really hopeful. I'm just so hopeful. Yeah. That's me.
Anyone else on this?
Come on, y'all.
I mean, yeah, I think it is helpful. I think any visibility is helpful. I love the show Pose. I love shows that celebrate trans characters and don't kind of pigeonhole them, like this film does, into stories about tragedy.
You need breakthroughs. One of my dearest, closest friends, Bill, is a gay man in his 60s who said when he grew up, there were no role models. He did not see gay men in white America in Newport Beach. He thought he was the only one. So I have to feel that there's a parallel thing going on with trans youth or older trans people who didn't have that when they were growing up, when they were in their formative years. So way more is needed, but every little bit, positive bit helps. I hope Lindsey and Alana and everyone else.
Yeah. There's another good question from Andrea. Alana, so what are the things that you do to get into your writing in compositional mode?
Sit in a chair and do it. That's the main one. That's the hardest one for sure. I'm a avid procrastinator, and so just kind of doing it regularly. Inspiration doesn't always come. It's not often that I'm so inspired I'm going to go write something. It's just kind of like there's always something there if you can get in the right headspace.
I'm also looking at some of the questions regarding future performances.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on with TCLA. I can tell you for my groups down in San Diego, we are doing 3 Pride performances. We're doing Light Up the Cathedral at St. Paul's Cathedral. and we're doing something with diversionary theater, teen versionary. It's a show by Josh Gershik, y'all, who is a Los Angeles playwright. I think you know Josh, don't you, Lisa or Alana? Josh Gershik. So he identifies as a trans man, and he's written a wonderful play. It's called Dear One, and it chronicles love letters from 1953 until 1965. And so we're going to have a group of teenagers reading them, and then my choristers singing before, in the middle, and afterwards. So that's during Pride Week down here in San Diego. And then we're looking to the fall. Things are starting to open up, and we're seeing real performances come back, thank goodness. And I know that 2022 is going to bring a lot of work for all of us. So I will keep you posted as we move forward, but it's okay. You can go to the TCLA website, and you can go to my website, lindseydeaton.com, or you can go to Lisa Marchbanks, Dragonmade Goods.
Dragonfish handmade goods.
Dragonfish handmade goods, yeah, for the latest deets. Okay.
Yeah, just stole the last question out of my mouth. It was what's going on with your futures, but we did that. Is there anything else we want to talk about? Gail and Jill, what are your next hopes for this film?
Well, we'd really like to get it into wider distribution. So that's what we're working on right now.
Yeah.
We'd like as many people as possible to see it. So
we've been on the festival circuit about a year, and we've gotten into, I don't know, over 20, 24 festivals so far. We're still actually starting today. We're in a festival in Pennsylvania, the Southside Film Festival, and they're doing it in person. So that festival starts today and runs through Saturday. And we have other festivals coming up. Folks can go to our website, geminiproductions.biz, to see the news for the film. But we want to get a distributor. We'd love to get it. It's not just streaming, but DVD, educational. We are going to have to raise money to do that, because for the big pop songs in the film, we don't have the rights, the music rights. So we have to raise money to be able to distribute the film in other areas. So that's something we're working on. And we may have to actually even do a little bit of editing if we
Oh,
can.
no. Hey, y'all, go to geminiproductions.biz and hit the donate button.
Hit the donate button.
Hit the donate button, okay?
Hit the big button. You get a tax deduction. We're fiscally sponsored by the International Documentary Association.
There you go. Hit it twice.
So, yeah. So you get a tax deduction if you donate to the film. I could see someone did ask about where they could see the film again. Basically, since we're not in distribution, the thing to do if you do want to see the film, or if you tuned into this Q&A and missed the film, if you go to our website, you'll see what film festivals we're coming up in. And there are some that'll be virtual. I know we're in a big one that's actually in India, in Mumbai, in the fall or in August. And I think that'll be worldwide. You know, some festivals block the film to a certain area. But we've been lucky in that many of them have done worldwide virtual streaming. So many festivals are still virtual. This one in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, they scrambled last minute to do it in person. So, yeah, so a couple of people wanted to know where they could see the film again. We got a bunch of questions about that.
Yeah, a bunch of questions about seeing the film again, and then
Yeah,
I guess we could tie it up. Oh, we got one asking Lisa about your handmade goods and your repurposed goods. How can we support that?
Well, I'm an upcycler, so I take former textiles and turn them into useful items, household goods, bags, purses, oven mitts, you name it. You can
Masks.
masks.
You can find me at dragonfishhandmadegoods.com.
And then last but not least, we have people asking how they could support the choir as in the future?
I would send them to the Trans Chorus website and hit their donate button or go to their Facebook page.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Well, it's been lovely talking to you all. Please support this film, support Gemini, support the Trans Chorus LA, support trans choruses nationally, and help them thrive in the future, and create a future with more trans choruses. The Skirball is open. We did it, so we're open. Please visit us. Keep up with us at skirball.org. There'll be some live outdoor music in the summer down the line, but keep up with us on our website. That's the best place to do it. And thank you all for spending time with us tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you to the Skirball
Thank you very much.
for all the exposure in this wonderful event. Thank you so much.
Of
Yeah,
course.
thank you. Thank you so much.